Welcome back, SurfNav. This is still Walt, one of your SurfNav instructors, and in this video, we're going to be continuing on with our PIM problem number 1 from 16 November 2023. In this video, we'll start by solving for whether or not we're ahead or behind PIM. We'll actually do that at the same time as we're doing step 2, solving for how far ahead or behind PIM we are in time. We'll start with distance and then convert that into time. So let's get started. First off, let's write down our given information. Since we're transiting west on our proof track, I always prefer to add my first waypoint over here to the east. My second waypoint will be over here towards the west, and I'll connect them. I like to draw it out every time. Even though I've done plenty of PIM problems, I still like to draw it out so that when I put my fix down, I can see where I am and where I'm going. If you do it the wrong way, you're going to get the wrong answer. It also tells us that our SOA is 12 knots. At 0330 GMT, we take a fix, and we find that we are 10.6 nautical miles to the east of our 0500 GMT waypoint. So we can tell, because we drew it out, that our fix is definitely to the east of this waypoint. A quick note on Zulu versus GMT. They are equivalent, so you can use either one you want. I prefer just to use Zulu because it takes up less space. And since we're traveling west, I like to draw in a little DR that shows us moving towards the west, just to remember which way we're going. The last piece of information is that the distance between our fix and our next waypoint is 10.6 nautical miles. So this diagram shows everything that we know. We're currently right here at 0330 Zulu. We planned to be at this waypoint at 0500 Zulu. And the distance between our fix and that next waypoint is 10.6 nautical miles. Also, our approved speed, our SOA, is 12 knots. That's the speed that we'll be using to solve this part of the problem. We now have to figure out, are we ahead or behind PIM, and by how much? There are a few different ways to solve a PIM problem. I prefer, and this is why we'll show you, the method that's called the DR, or the dead reckon method. Basically, we're going to dead reckon out from our position to figure out that if we are traveling 12 knots and we have 10.6 miles to go, what time are we going to arrive there? It's called the DR method because we're using our SOA. What that will give us is it will tell us what time, based off of our SOA, we will arrive at this waypoint. We'll then be able to compare the time that we will arrive there with the time that we're supposed to be there. And that'll tell us not only if we're ahead or behind PIM, so if we show up before 0500 Zulu, we're ahead. If we show up after, we're behind. It'll also tell us the amount of time that we're ahead or behind PIM. Again, many different ways to do a PIM problem. This is just one of many. So let's start by consulting our time, speed, distance triangle. As always, we will put distance on top, and speed and time will be on the bottom. Now we can use it to figure out what we know. We know the distance is 10.6 nautical miles. We also know the speed is 12 knots. So we know our distance, we know our speed, and we're looking for time. Based off of the triangle, distance is on top of S. So to figure out our time, we're going to take our distance, divide it by our speed, and that will equal the time. So the formula that we'll use is distance over speed equals time. So thank you, time, speed, distance triangle. We'll erase you. So now that we know the formula that we're going to use, we'll take our distance of 10.6 nautical miles, and we'll divide it by our speed, our SOA, of 12 knots. Now for these knots, instead of putting knots, I'm actually going to replace them with nautical miles per hour. 1 knot is 1 nautical mile per hour, so these units are equivalent. But you'll see in a little bit, it's going to help determine our units. In our calculators, we'll do 10.6 divided by 12, and we get 0.883. Now for units, you divide something by itself, they cancel out, so nautical miles divided by nautical miles, they cancel out, and you're left with just hours. This is 0.883 hours. Now that's not a very helpful amount That's not a very helpful unit because we're going to need to add that to our time. Let's get that into minutes and hours. Now, of course, there's 0 hours, but we can convert it into minutes by multiplying this by 60 because there are 60 minutes in an hour. We'll put that into our calculator and we get 53 minutes. We know those are minutes because these hours cancel out and we're left with just minutes. Now this number is not how far ahead or behind PIM we are. This number is telling us that it is going to take 53 minutes to transit from our fix to this waypoint, which is a distance of 10.6 nautical miles, if we do 12 knots. So 53 minutes after 0330 Zulu, we will arrive at this waypoint. We have one more step to figure out how far ahead or behind PIM we are. To do that, we'll take the time of our fix and we'll add our transit time of 0 hours and 53 minutes, what we just calculated. We'll do some math. I always like to do the smaller numbers first, so between minutes and hours, the minutes are smaller. So we'll do this math first. 30 minutes plus 53 minutes is 83 minutes. We'll come back to that in a sec. Now we'll do our hours. 3 hours plus 0 hours is 03. So we will arrive at that next waypoint at 0383 Zulu. Yep, the problem is this is not a time. It looks like our minutes crossed over into the next hour, so we're going to have to account for that. So I need to subtract 60 minutes from over here, and I'm going to add 1 hour over here. 1 hour is equivalent to 60 minutes, so they equal each other out. The good thing is that now when I do the minutes, 83 minus 60 minutes is 23, and 3 hours plus 1 hour is 04. That's an actual time. We will arrive at the next waypoint at 0423 Zulu. So now let's move this over here. We just figured out that we will arrive at this waypoint at 0423 Zulu because we're transiting those 10.6 miles going 12 knots. So based off of this, we were supposed to be at this waypoint at 0500 Zulu. We are actually going to show up at 0423 Zulu. So the first answer is that we will be ahead of PIM because we're arriving early. So step 1, we are definitely ahead of PIM. To figure out the amount of time that we're ahead of PIM, we have to do some math. So we are supposed to be at that waypoint at 0500 Zulu. We are actually going to show up at 0423 Zulu. If you're really good at doing math ahead, super, you can probably do this math right now. Just remember, it's good to practice doing it because this is less than an hour being ahead or behind. Once you're 2 or 3 or 4 hours ahead or behind, the math gets a little more difficult, so you're probably going to have to do it like this. So let's subtract these. We'll start with the minutes first. Oops, you can't do 0 minutes minus 23 minutes. You get a negative number. So what we have to do is actually steal an hour from over here. This 5 hours becomes 4. So since we subtracted an hour over here, we need to make up for that by adding 60 minutes over here, because 1 hour equals 60 minutes. So this 00 is now 60 minutes. And now when we do the math, 60 minus 23 is 37 minutes. When we do the hours, well, 4 minus 4 is 0. So that's 0 hours. So we are 37 minutes ahead of PIM. So we'll put that over here. There we go. And we just solved that we are ahead of PIM. That was step 1. At the same time, for step 2, we took the distance from our fix to our next waypoint. We did some math, and we determined that we were 37 minutes ahead of PIM. In our next video, we'll be solving for the speed required. We were told that we need to regain PIM by 0800 GMT. So we'll take what we already know from steps 1 and 2, figure out how fast we need to go to regain PIM. Just by looking at it, if we're 37 minutes ahead of PIM, we're probably going to have to slow down a little bit, so go a little less than our SOA to regain PIM since we're ahead. That'll be in our next video.